My monitor's off. My monitor's
No.
off. Almost ready.
Well, no, that's. You just start the stream. So the way, Brenny and I can test everything. Okay. So go ahead, Brenny. Switch your studio transition and send us.
Okay, sending now.
Yeah. Okay. So Earl, this is a stream. It's an experiment. Those of us in the Sakai community can join in the normal Big Blue Button account and password, and you can join this. And we're also streaming this on YouTube. We're monitoring YouTube chat. It's going to be mostly people from my Python course, so we're not going to talk too much about Python here. I have other events for that. But mostly we're here to talk to Earl and whoever else shows up from the Sakai community. And I got over here, my son, Brent, is my streaming producer. Oh, now he's out of the shot, so you don't see him. If you don't see Brent, then he's just our producer on a whole computers. We were like freaking out this. Yeah, hi, Brent. Also, of course, is Adrian. Adrian's here too. So here we go. So I don't have these things. Never have an agenda. We just talk. So Earl, I had a strange idea for today. We could get really boring, and you could review that PR that we didn't have time to review yesterday, because you know me. I'm scared enough when I have long-lived dev branches, and I want to merge that stuff into master, and I got a whole bunch of work I got to do. Got a whole bunch of work I got to do in the next couple of weeks for the code freeze on LTI for like Loam and stuff, and I just want to get that in. So at some point we could do that, or we could talk about something else. Oh, okay.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. You
Well,
probably didn't hear.
Yeah, oh, you just drag something on screen. So Brian, can you go to Big Blue Button and I guess we're okay. I guess we look okay.
Can everybody hear okay in the chat? I just fixed something.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, he's talking to the YouTube people.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that, guys.
So Brent, you can't capture mic aux. You gotta turn mic aux off. I know what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work because you got to go with output. You got to go with so that Earl and me and Adrian have the same. You just got to, yeah.
Try that. Can you guys hear everything?
So Earl, say something.
Hey,
Chuck, this is Chuck. This is Chuck.
Chat, can you hear?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Good.
Chat's good.
Because the problem we had last time we tried this was I couldn't I couldn't get the microphone from the streaming computer, but we now have two streaming computers, and that's how we do it. And so you got it set.
No,
You've got mic aux off, Brent, and you're doing audio output. Oh, you're just okay. You're smarter than me, so I don't care. So if everyone's happy on the chat, then we're good. Yeah. So Michael, you say you got the YouTube feed up and don't hear. So Brent, you still got mic going. How come it says mic aux? Or do you have it?
It's not.
Also in.
No, Brent's not in. Oh, you gotta. No, but okay, wait. Hang on a sec. No, the stream is listen only. The stream is listen only.
I think I got it now.
No, I don't. Well, let's see. You can't use the microphone from this computer because I show up twice then. Can't use that microphone, and that's why I did audio output capture. No, you can't.
Sorry, everybody. Trying to figure this out. Give me just a second. I'm going to turn this on. It's a little echoey, but I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay.
You can live with a little echo.
Okay, so what
We'll
I'm going to
figure
do
it
then, this is what I'm going to do, Brent.
Okay.
No. Okay. Earl, talk.
This is Earl. How you guys doing?
Okay. Don't play too much, Brent. Oh, I see what you're doing. So now what we're using is the microphone from that other computer, and hopefully we'll get Earl to be able to be heard. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just so Brent, you can work with just the microphone, and you can play with it a bit, and you can yeah, okay. So Earl, let's start going through this. This is just an experiment, and we'll do it again. So
I have my screen up.
yeah, so take
PR open.
a look at the Jira for a second. Take a look at the Jira for the second.
Sure.
And so if you look at the Jira, where are you?
Hold on, I'm getting
Oh,
there.
I see. Yeah, I had it already in tab.
Oh, slash in there. Let me make it bigger.
Yeah, so the quick explanation of this is the way that LTI launches work is every launch is signed with a key, public key, private key, and then you include in the launch this thing called a KID, a KID. And then to figure out what the public key is, you actually have to retrieve a URL from Sakai that has a list of public keys for it. And so you don't actually send the public key, you send this thing called a KID, K-I-D. And then the tool receives a launch, and it sees a KID in the header of that launch, and it's like, do I know this KID? And if it does, it's already got it, and it's cached that key, the public key for that KID. key ID, and then it checks the signature with that key ID. Well, what can happen is we can rotate the public and private keys in Sakai and then start signing with a new key and send a different KID because the KIDs are hashed from the actual key. And then this tool, like Sugi, notices that it's got a different KID, not one that's been pre-cached. So it goes and says, hey Sakai, what are your current keys? And by now, this URL that has a list of keys is updated. And so now it goes, oh, I got the new public key, and now I can check for the new public key, right? And then it caches that. And so originally in Sakai and originally in LTI 1.3, you would just like have one pasted public-private key. But now what we're doing is we're switching so that every once in a while, the Sakai automatically, rotates the keys, and that's what this is, and it's all hidden in the back. And yeah, I think we need to install a shadow driver for the audio.
So,
That's what we didn't do.
Dr. Chuck, do you want to just maybe explain real quick, like, why this feature is needed?
Yeah, the reason that it's needed is that we don't want to use the same public-private key pair for 20 years. Like, you install a tool, and you'll have a public-private key generated at that point, and then we'll use that forever. And so the idea is like every 30 days or something, every 30 days, you should rotate this key. And this feature adds key rotation to Sakai. But here's the thing. There is no UI for this. And all it does is every 30 days, when the keys list is being retrieved, it detects that. And so then what you look at is there's 3 keys, and that's sitting on the screen right now. The current public-private pair that's being used, the next public-private pair that's going to be used, and the previous one. And so what happens is you actually choose the next public-private key 30 days before you rotate it. And then what you give it to the tools, and then they can cache this information, and then when we switch the private key, they already have the public key, right? And so
do you expect like that there might be like some tools that like use the wrong key at any point, like by accident, or
I think that there might be tools that don't cache, don't detect. You're going to break my YouTube if you do that.
Do you think?
I think. Why don't you get your own computer up? Just
I'll do
get your-
that. Okay.
Don't log me out, otherwise YouTube might start.
Keep going.
So the way it works is in the middle of checking the launch, right? You just got an LTI launch, and you're like, whoa, the KID is one that I don't know. I better retrieve this URL right now. I mean, you have to pause in mid-validation inside the tool. And then you need to update that so that when you get that KID for the next 15 days, you don't have to keep asking for it. And so a tool might be confused, right? It might decide that it's going to, I don't know, if the tool runs grabs the keys on a cron, we'll be okay because they'll already have the next key. There's always a list of keys. I could imagine that this feature is, if this feature wasn't being used when the tools, they might not have tested this use case. But here's the thing. All the other LMSs are doing this exact same thing. Canvas is doing it. Blackboard's doing it. D2 is doing it. And so if they can't handle a rotated key, and this whole thing about next and previous and current, that's exactly how they're all doing it. So I have imitated all the other LMSs when I did this.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is that the other vendors, the LTI vendors that are working with the other LMSs are already accustomed to this issue.
Well, they may or may not be. I don't know exactly when they're rolling it out. But they're either going to be accustomed to it or become accustomed to it.
Gotcha. Cool.
So
That was a good overview.
yeah, so if we take a look at the code, we'll see there's some data, new data here in LTI service. And the LTI 1.3 servlet is actually the servlet that it's the one that gives the keys out. And so you'll see the big changes are in a method called handle key set. And so what it actually does is it actually gives the key set and sends the key set out. And so that's like /IMS LTI 1.3 /key set /9. And then, so and so part of what this is you're on my screen. Part of what this is adding the old and next keys so that you can see that it goes from just one key. Up to this point, you never got more than one key. You only got the current key. Now you get the next key and the old key. And so I send that out as JSON, and that's what's going to happen next. So this is where you're going to get three keys, and then this at line 717 is where it takes a look at whether or not it should rotate the keys, and then it rotates it. Now, one thing that should jump out at you is how come I didn't write a quartz job or something to do this, right? And I can later write a quartz job. Oh, you're going to put a comment in?
Of course. You gotta put a comment in.
Yeah. I honestly don't want to do the quartz job right now, but you can. Oh, what's that?
That's a suggestion.
Oh, okay. I'll fix that. I'll fix it. Okay. This is what we get when Earl looks at stuff. You could almost even commit the suggestion, right? But I'll commit the suggestion.
Yeah, no, I'll let you take care of it.
Okay. Okay, so then we go to the code in Sakai BLTI util. And so Sakai BLTI util is the general purpose, full of all the code needed all over Sakai's LTI. And so, yeah, so you can scroll up and down, scroll down. Oh, that's just I changed the decrypt secret. This is the cool stuff. So, so lines 3083 and 3085. So you'll notice I'm in a static method, right? And so I could import, and maybe it's even imported, I don't know. But I happen to like this style, where I'm in a static method and I want to get a handle to a service, right? I like this style. And maybe you don't like this style, but I have to have that whole string on line 3085, which is the entire API, whatever. And that's a string. And so I kind of like that org Sakai project component API server configuration 3 places. And I do that as a style. And if you don't like that as a style, you just tell me you don't like that as a style. But you see what I'm doing. I like using the fully qualified names there, but you can yell at me if you.
No, this is ideal, right?
I know that's what you want. It's the other two that are, yeah. And honestly,
the only comment I can have about this, if this is a service that you know that you're always going to be using, which is the case here, I mean, you could put this, as a member variable on the class and make it a static member variable,
and check if it's
that,
null. So
it's possible. You don't have to.
So hang on, but that triggers a philosophical conversation that I have with myself every time I write this line of code. Okay? And that is, the way I've written it, you could hot deploy that. And if I make a static thing, you can't hot deploy it. If I make it class static.
What do you mean by hot? You mean hot deploy in Tomcat?
No, I mean somehow if we ever got Spring smart enough to redeploy these things. I like late binding. I like the late binding rather than the early binding. And I don't consider this
Right.
in 3085. I don't consider that line a
Well, okay,
costly
so
line.
you could do a combination between late and still, and that is just putting these setups in a constructor, for example, right? You can either
But this is static though.
No, but so you can do them in a constructor, or you can even do them. Let's say in the case of Spring, you've got like the init method, and you can do them there as well.
Does the init method got recalled?
What's that?
Does the init method get recalled? I mean, how? I love this because I'm actually looking it up.
The init method gets called when after the class is instantiated and Spring has injected all of the properties. Init is called after.
Yeah, but I don't like that.
It's called a post construct.
Because this is static, and that init is never going to be retriggered. If this was a dynamic, I would do the init thing exactly as you say.
Well, but that's the whole concept. Let's just entertain the theory then, real quick.
Yep.
Why do if the service is going to be set on a member variable, why do you need to go through the code constantly and call to get the service over and over and over again if it's going to be the same service? No. Right?
Well, but I want to be able to hot deploy.
Well, you still can. When the class gets constructed.
No, but right? When the basic Sakai BLTI util class is constructed, right?
So well, if you were to do it statically, right? That's one thing, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to do it when the class gets constructed, right? Which means any time that this class a new instance gets created, which is what I'm saying, you can go kind of in between there, right? It's
but wait, happy zone. So are you telling me go scroll up a little bit. Scroll up a little bit. A little farther. Go back into that servlet where it's actually being used. Go up. Okay. Go up. Stop. Find out where that little rotate guy. No. Find out where it's calling that rotate routine. Yeah, you probably have you have a magic way to find this stuff. Stop. Right there. So are you telling me in this line right here that it's instancing Sakai BLTI util right this at line 720 every time a request comes in?
No. So in this case, this right here. This is a static reference.
That's a class
right here
with a static method. And rotate tool keys is a static method in a class.
Right.
And we're talking about the first 3 lines of that method.
So at this point in time, you're not dealing with an instance. You're doing things statically.
I am.
You're making a static call.
And what I'm trying to figure out is where the init method,
There's
when
no
that's fired.
Here.
I know.
Right.
I could have a static class variable, but then I wouldn't know when to change it.
So whenever you're doing, so I will say that some of what you're doing, what I would recommend. Why does this have to be a static call? Right. You could answer that question first. Does it need to be a static call? Right. But I will say if it is a static call, right, which it is, then down here, right, you're absolutely correct in that you need to make then it should be done statically, right? And I understand what you're saying. You're saying the reason because I'm using this statically is that when I call this method, I'm always going to make sure that these things are set all the time.
I just think
I get that.
Yeah.
But what I'm also saying is you can just do the same thing and do it statically at the top.
I can't.
It'll be done for you all the time.
But then hot reload of that service will not inform my class, and I'm going to get a traceback, and we're going to blow up mid code.
I guess I'm confused by when you say hot reload because any time that the web app is reloaded, those things are going to be.
I mean, if we redeploy a server configuration service and tell Spring there's a new one.
Yeah, but currently you can't do that.
I know. I dream of a day when we could. and I write this kind of code to dream of a day when we can't. I know we can't, right?
Right.
And so I have the conversation you and I have just had for 10 minutes. I have every time I write this line of code, I dream that someday, this is the opposite of covers, right? This is hot. This is like if you put covers at one end of like inflexible, and then you put instant hot redeploy of any little bit of code in Sakai at the other end. I just want to dream we're going in that direction.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I believe that you're going about this the wrong way. There's a better way to do the hot redeploy that you're thinking of, and it doesn't involve. Really, what it does is it involves just using instances.
Yes.
And stop using statics.
Stop using static and be spring friendly, right? But if I'm stuck with static. If I'm stuck
telling you to stop using statics is like, I don't know, it's like bending your arm behind your back, I feel sometimes.
Yes.
You love statics. You love using that pattern.
Because
that is,
do you know what Fortran does? Do you know what Fortran does? All functions in Fortran are static, okay? So you're fighting 1976 right now.
Gotcha.
You're fighting 1976. When probably none of you were born. So if you were, think of this real quick, and then I'll move on. Yeah, we can move on.
If you were thinking of this, like from the concept of how to do hot deploy, like having that in the future, how would you do this? And what I would say is you would stop using statics for this kind of stuff. And what you would do is you would either, and you would just rely on Spring. Spring, when you create an instance, right, you can actually say, even if you were to create multiple instances, like what's called a prototype in Spring, Spring will make sure that everything is always injected for you.
And including if there was a hot redeploy.
What you're doing here is you're managing the injection yourself. So there's a concept, inversion of control, right? That is the whole concept of dependency injection, right? And you're breaking that pattern.
I know. I hate Martin Fowler. Okay?
Spring says, I will deal with all of this for you. But Dr. Chuck is saying, I don't want you to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it myself. What you need to do is you need to trust Spring, and you need to release this stuff. You need to release this concept of trying to manipulate this.
So here's what I should do. This is what I should do. And not today, and not in this code. What I should do...
not today.
Right. What I should do is, with your help, I should build another Sakai BLTI util called Sakai Cool Spring BLTI util, where I put some of this utility code, but it's all in, for all intents, you'd call it Sakai BLTI service, right? And then make it really a great service, and make it reloadable, and make all the pieces of it smart when it gets reloaded, right? Right. So that would be the way to get away from static and make this just a service.
Yeah.
If you think about the LTI service, if you look at that code, that service is really kind of my data access layer. And so it's not a utility service, it's the DAO. It's the DAO for all the LTI tables in Sakai. So, okay. Well, thank you, Earl. This is an internal monologue thing that I've now had as an external monologue thing, and I have a way forward if I want to, become more like the future. Okay, so let's keep on going. So, can I keep those lines?
Yes. Keep
okay.
Them. They're okay.
Okay.
That is a pattern that is established in Sakai. We're
Yeah.
not going to beat you over the head because you're still using it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
So we're rotating. So one of the things here is you got to generate the next key pair, and that's cheap. And I may or may not update them, but I'm generating them. So then the next thing we're doing is we're looking at how long it's been So what I'm actually looking at here is I'm looking at how long ago I generated that next key, right? So if it sees that there is a current key but no next key, it like immediately generates one and sets the date. And it's like, oh, and that's what that first if is. So you'll see it, if you look at the test plan of it, you see it goes from one key to two keys. And what that is it didn't actually rotate. It just like prepared for rotation.
Okay.
And so it makes the next one and then records its date. And then what happens is the next one has to be however long old before the actual rotation. Because you want to give tools a chance to have seen the next one and cache the next one, to warm their cache up. So some tools have cron jobs where every 2 days they grab the key set and see if there's any new key set, right? And so what I'm doing, and now and then of course on line 3119 there, I'm checking to see if the days are. Now there's a little trick here where, and it's in the JIRA, where if the number of days is negative, I call the number of minutes, and that makes it easier for Andrea to test. So if you look at that line, see the thing where it's a little weird? If days greater than 0 and delta days greater than equal days, that's normal. Or if the days less than -1 and the minutes is, and so that's my test hack, to force it to rotate really fast with a property, right?
Right.
And then it's pretty simple. I'm just copying stuff and rotating and sticking it back in the database and putting a log message out. You know, so.
Right. 1 sec. I've got someone to answer.
You can go on mute. Hey Brent, how are we doing?
Fine.
Doing fine. Have you got the auto balanced after all this?
I had lots of help from chat.
Good. So Adrian, Mike, any thoughts?
Not really. I mean, so like you've got these 3 keys now to smooth out the process of moving on to the next key. Yeah? So they kind of pre-cache the next key, right? The tool. That's the idea. And instead of having to go through the old handshake and requesting the new key from the API and stuff,
Yeah, chances are good. So if I look at what Sugi does, it actually caches this whole JSON blob that comes back. And the first thing it does when it sees a new KID is it goes like, let's check in the JSON blob that I retrieved the last time, whatever it was. And if it's there, great, I'm in good shape, right? And the idea is that when the rotation happens, you don't want Sakai to be pounded. You know, the Sakai will be pounded because everyone's busting their cache at the same time. Some of them will already have it.
Yes, I mean, so there's no kind of intervention needed, right? This is just like an automatic process where these keys are getting pre-generated and then.
Yeah, and when I originally thought of this, I thought there would be a button called rotate. But let's just assume we've got like 70 LTI tools. Are you going to really go hit the rotate button on all 70? Is anybody going to do that?
No.
And then I was talking to the other LMSs, and they're the same way. They don't have a rotate button. They just do it. And and some of them, I won't name names, some of them rotate once a year, and some of them rotate every day or 2.
Wow.
And as we were talking to each other on an IMS call, some were saying, the people who rotate a year are like, oh, that feels a little long.
Yeah. Is there going to be a recommendation by IMS, maybe like how often to rotate?
No, I don't think so. Part of the thing is some of these organizations, the cloud folks, they have one set of keys. Like Blackboard has one set of keys for all of the applications. Like in Sakai, we have a key for each installed tool. So Turnitin gets a key, Gradescope gets a key, Tsugi gets a key, and those are all separately rotated. But in Blackboard, there's actually a place called Mission Control Tron where all the keys live, and they're actually using the same key for all of their clients. So if one school had if Blackboard had 5 schools, the tools would see exactly one key. So you can kind of imagine that the folks that use one key across all of all their clients' tools, all clients, all tools, they're going to rotate a little faster. So we're in the middle, actually. We're in the middle. So we're going to basically say the best practice probably could be this whole the idea of next. And Earl, you'll be happy. Do you remember that other JIRA where I tried to get the database change in early?
Yeah.
That you and I fought about? Or I just kind of nagged you until you did it?
I did.
Your instinct was that it was a mistake, but I just said, please do it anyways?
Well, it wasn't my instinct. Yeah, that wasn't my instinct, but...
Well, your instinct of it being a mistake was right.
Oh.
Even though it wasn't your instinct. So it turned out that I believed when I did that, I knew how I was going to build this. I was sure that all I was going to do is have like a push-down stack of current key, old key, current key, old key. And then I was getting ready to write the code, and I figured I better ask around and see what everyone else is doing. And this whole concept of next. So you'll notice that there is a database conversion in this JIRA as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you're right. Oh, you're looking at this code now. This code, good thing there's no screen camera, because I'm probably starting to sob mercilessly at this point. Why? Java time date is, I don't want to swear on a stream, but I'll just say it's yeah, I won't swear on the stream, but it is an ugly, ugly thing. The good news is that Instant, I think, makes things better, right?
Yeah.
Instant
it's
is what it...
generally well received, Instant.
But then we got all this other crap that nobody uses Instant. So this has to do with the fact you're welcome to review this, and there's a test. If you go down, you'll see there's a test, a unit test for it. Yeah, right down here, there's a unit test. That was because I changed the method signature. Go down, keep going, keep going. Oh wait, how come I? Oh, there we are. Yeah. Oh Lord. And so here's the problem. So, and oh no, here we go again. We only got 20 minutes for you to yell at me, Earl. But you know that I use my own object relational mapper. I know how this next conversation is going. And so
well, this is a good. I mean, what you did here, I get it. But we do have another, and we kind of commented about this in one of your other JIRAs about the user time service has a lot of this already in it.
No, this is not user time service. This is unless. So user time service, as I understood it, was all about showing users the right thing with locale and time zone.
Yeah, that's part of it.
So what this is like convert every damn weird ass way of having a stinking date come back from an SQL driver into a UTC, and this is only for UTC.
Oh, okay, I see where you're
To
going
an
from
instant.
now.
And so the problem is the damn SQL drivers. Oracle's SQL driver, MySQL's SQL driver. They all give me this.
This is why Sakai and the old I think it was called time zone service. The old time zone service. We have this newer one called user time service, but the old time zone service, whenever it persisted anything as dates to Sakai, it used to do it in strings.
You know what?
So it would stringify them.
I'll tell you what.
To UTC time, and then what it would do is it would read, because you didn't have to worry about any you didn't have to worry about JDBC, you didn't have to worry about the database, you didn't have to worry about anything, converting anything, because it was just a string.
I know, Earl, and you'll notice if you go down a little bit further, it's like if I can't figure out what to do with this damn thing, I just convert it to a string and see what happens.
Right?
Because
is it further?
No, it was there. You saw it. It was two string.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right in there.
Oh, right here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I give up, and then I give you back a null, and so so the problem is that I'm caught in between Java SQL timestamp, right? Java util date, and
Yeah.
the fact that sometimes different.
and database and different time zones, like databases living in different time zones, and JDBC drivers being in different time zones, and you've got all those kinds of things at play.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just want to know an instant from UTC. You'd think that would be easy, but it isn't. And
Yeah.
and so I probably spent a morning writing this unit test in that code.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some things that are like somebody's gonna like say like, oh, these guys are thinking everything all dates should be strings and things.
No. I'm just saying I was tempted to do that.
It's not that. It's just there was the simplicity. The simplicity of it is alluring, right? Of course, there is a moment when like people wanting to change the times, like move their database to another part of the world or whatever have you. Yes, there's
it's inefficient.
There are things there to do it.
It's inefficient, and you can't compare them like in an SQL query. You can't order by that. Order by is going to be really inefficient if you use strings. So even though it is kind of like that long Julian date, but still, the string is appealing. And I was thinking as we were talking about the idea that it might be something useful to do during a database conversion, right? Where, well, what kind of frickin' timestamps do we have in here? And so we just go like string them all and then destring them all, and then we're okay, And that's an interesting way to think about the world is, that string and unstring, which we did back in 2005 or 6 or 2 or 3, 2002 or 2003, but yeah, okay. So this is not horrible. I think we should steal some of this and maybe move it into. We should steal some of this and move it into a util class somehow. But I needed Java stamp time to be in this. I mean Java SQL time stamp to be in this. I mean at some point we could go somewhere and borrow some of this and make a thing that basically says, I don't know what the hell I've got. It's an object, and I sure would like an instant. And that's kind of what this
is where Hibernate does all this stuff for
I
us.
was wondering when you were going to mention Hibernate.
I know. I've been waiting. I know that's the angle you knew I was going to come from. So I was holding out.
No, it's okay. No, as I was writing this code, Earl, your voice was echoing in my mind. Hibernate solves this. Hibernate solves this, and here I am writing a unit test. It takes me a whole morning.
There's a lot of things that Hibernate solves, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we use it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I wrote actually in this area. I wrote, I think, an explanation of like, problems with with time zones. MySQL datetime versus timestamp problem. There's all kinds of problems all over the place, but with some of this stuff. But the good thing is like when you do get like frameworks like Hibernate that solve all of this for you, it makes it a whole lot simpler, right? And now you don't have to worry.
The key thing is Hibernate can change and adapt to a Java 7, Java 8, Java 8 Plus, etc. And Hibernate can just go like, oh yeah, that got ugly. Let me fix that for you, right?
Right.
But instant, again, the good news is we're only this Java 7 and Java 8. We're only going to go through this instant thing once, and I just love how it's working.
Yeah. No, and Sakai has been migrating to instant everywhere. Like
good.
That was in the user time service. That was really the main. I think one of the main reasons why the user time service started to come around was because at that point we were, we got Java 8 and we were moving to Java 8. We're moving to instant with Java 8 time, and it was like, okay, let's take all the concepts out of the old time zone service, and put them in a new user time called the user time service that was, more Java 8, prepared, or
yeah, I looked at that. I looked at that service after you told me that on my other Jira, and I'm like, I like how this is going. It did seem to kind of weirdly at times pass in the locale, and other times it just went and asked the session something for the locale, but it seemed like it was pretty convenient as it's set.
That's I think that's its main purpose, is to be convenient, you know, and provide everybody with the same approach. You know?
Yeah, and in that other Jira, which was UI code, it was the perfect solution.
But you're absolutely right. So, like for the people that are watching, this is what happens when you use different ways to access the database, right? You know, whether you use where you're using if you're using an ORM, or if you're using just JDBC directly, or there are many ways, right, to access the database, and and those ways will have their little idiosyncrasies. And so in this case, because Dr. Chuck said it, he doesn't use like Hibernate, and he does it with JDBC template. He now has the problems that come along with that, and that's why he has to deal with them. But for the rest, for some from a lot of the other folks, like myself, I don't really deal with this because I like to use Hibernate, and that just takes care of it for me.
Remember, Earl, at some point, I'm optimistic. Whenever we have these sword fights. Just happened.
I don't know.
It looks good though.
No,
Oh.
don't panic. That's me.
That's just me going.
Okay, that's just Adrian. Okay. Look, we got too many moving parts here. Yeah, so remember, Earl, you and I have often said that you and I will go like on a vacation to Hawaii with a really good network connection, and we'll convert LTI service to Hibernate, because I believe that Hibernate and annotations have gotten good enough that I would actually rather switch to, instead of my funky FooRM stuff. I think that Hibernate has, because you don't need HBM files, Hibernate with annotations is now good enough that I wouldn't throw up trying to use it.
Right. Which is like this class right here.
Yeah.
That I put up on the screen.
You gotta make it a little bigger. It's kind of hard to see.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's see if I can do that.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it, Chuck. It's a lot better now with the annotations.
And what I want to do, Adrian, is I want to have additional annotations that are my annotations, right? Because if you look at FooRM, it handles internationalization, it handles form, making UIs and all that stuff. But if you look at it, it's really nothing that couldn't be done by a more clever annotation that I would build. I would have my own annotations that I would layer on top of the Hibernate annotations, and I think it'd be super elegant, way more elegant than the crap I've done now. So, yeah.
I don't know how to do it intelligently. I haven't done it in so long.
You just have to change your overall screen size so that IntelliJ has less to work with, and then it'll be happier. But yeah, we get it. It's a bunch of @ sign thingies. So, oh well. Do you want to go back and finish reviewing, and then you can approve? I'm ready to merge this. I'll fix that one thing.
That was just the comment that I made there about the toString and the get message. Well, there's nothing wrong with get message. Get message just gets the text of the message. The nice thing about toString, right, is it will concatenate the class name and the message together. So toString gives you a little bit enhanced version of get message, where it puts the actual exception class in the actual message. So for an example, think of like a null pointer exception, right? And then let's say the message said,
well, it says null pointer exception, right?
It was null, right? Like the parameter was null, right? That was your message, right? Instead of just seeing the parameter, what you'll see is null pointer exception, : the parameter was null, right? Now that may not be that useful for like null pointers, right, or anything like that, but there are other errors in the system where making sure that the exception is part of the message is actually kind of really helpful.
Right,
So
especially if you're doing like an log out analysis. I tell you what, that I don't know if it's worth it, but that little thing about using a log, because you could express that in a regular expression that perhaps you could teach Codacy about.
Right.
Because
so I'm just saying, I prefer using two-string because of that little bit of information.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with using getMessage.
no, but I that's the kind of thing where if Codacy would have reminded me, it'd have been great, and I would have fixed it, right?
Right.
Codacy is great at reminding folks of stuff.
Yeah, Codacy's probably not going to teach you best practices.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so, I mean, I will say this about your log messages. Dr. Chuck is now using the newer log message style.
Do you know who taught me that?
Which is nice.
Do you know who taught me that, Earl?
Let's see. Was it Brent?
No, it wasn't Brent. It was you.
Okay, what's it?
It was you. Enough code reviews got me using the curly brace format.
Was it me?
Yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah, it is. And I understand the performance impact of not concatenating strings.
Yeah, so that using this style means you don't have to do is log debug enabled.
Plus.
Exactly. Exactly, because it's all built in, which is really nice. Just things that have evolved over the years that are better now.
Yep. I mean, Java 8 is cool. So we only got 5 minutes left. Are you going to prove this?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I'll fix
Let's
that.
just we can take it as is. It's good.
No. I'll fix the one thing. You can approve it, and then
That was a minor.
But I love what you did. I'll merge it. I'll fix that one thing, and then I'll approve it. I'll merge it. Because there you go. We got all kinds of green now. I'm ready to merge it.
Yeah. Actually, I'll just to make sure that it stays compatible with the first version, I'll just update it to that.
Okay. Oh shoot! I had another question I was going to ask you. Oh.
So I approved.
Okay, so let me ask you your thoughts on back merging this to earlier versions. So this is like a tree falling in the forest. It's actually really easy to back merge, right? I mean, the places that it's touching are not UI, et cetera, but it does have a database thing. I'm leaning toward not back merging it. I'm really leaning toward just letting it be Chi22. And if something, no one's noticed this. It's not like you have to do this.
I was just gonna say I would take the lazy man's or the lazy approach to like these kinds of things.
Yeah, because
until someone actually asks for it,
yeah,
we just keep it in the current. We don't need to backport it. Just backporting for the sake of backporting. I don't typically. Only with bugs. Right? If there's bugs, totally agreed. They should just be backported. Once they're fixed and tested, right? But anything that is sort of featuristic or improvements or anything like that, unless specifically asked for, which is why I say the lazy approach, I would wait. And I like that. Want to know why? Because that's feedback for me. So for those that don't know. As being a person that manages the releases and the merging of issues into Sky versions, this is an approach that I've taken that I actually really like. I've come to over the years of doing this, just appreciate it. Meaning, when people actually want something, they'll come and they'll ask for it. Through some type of channel.
Hey.
And I always find that's a great approach.
That must be someone's. Oh, Brent's got. Is that Brent? Oh, that's some. Oh, that's. Oh, you got to go. You had to answer that call. Oh.
Yeah, that's. It'll just be a moment.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about in 3 minutes is to review my test plan. But Earl is gone, so I'll just paste in the chat the Jira, and I can't take his. So.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay. So could you take a look at the JIRA and talk about the test plan?
Yeah. So back to the JIRA.
Yeah.
And let's go to the test plan.
So this is really a dev test. I don't know if I marked it as right. No, I gotta add a dev test label. Hang on, dev QA. Is that what it is?
QA dev needed.
Yeah. QA dev needed. Okay. So this one, I originally thought it was, if you take a look, yeah. So, I kind of wrote this because I started thinking that I was the only. It really is helpful if you can see the database. Like, does Andrea have a way to touch the database while she's doing testing? Now they look at logs all the time.
She doesn't.
Okay.
She has access to the logs, but she doesn't have access to the database.
Okay. So
Which is why you assign QA dev needed.
Okay. So I think I've written this pretty reasonably well. I think this is pretty understandable. Part of it is I had to test it so many times myself, and every time I did it, I would just write something. Or when I was waiting for a Sakai restart, I would go work on the test plan. And she doesn't get to change the properties either, right? So that's another QA dev test needed, right?
I'm sorry, Dr. Chuck, you said, do you want to add another test? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm asking, like, Andrea doesn't. Is there a way for Andrea to request a server that has a property in it, or that's just dev test?
Yeah. So and we do that all the time. We get requests from all kinds of a lot of the QA will send us requests to say, oh, can you add these properties? Can you add these properties? And to be honest, we teach them to use our nightly config because all our properties are in Git, and so they can just go in and manipulate.
So you're saying
on the next rebuild, they're there, right?
And so Andrea has access to the nightly Git, or she'll just ask someone like me or you to do that in the nightly Git?
She has access to it, but a lot of times she'll just ask me to do it because she knows I'll do it for her.
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy. You just edit the file and commit it, right?
Right. Yeah. We don't even we just just for viewing purposes here. We can. It's just it's called nightly config.
Yeah.
Is the name of our repo there?
Oh, and shoot, now we're at noon.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to wrap up in a minute.
Yeah, because you got to go. The next thing I need help with is.
So like just real quick, here's all our properties. Just real quick, right? So you can see for all the different servers, we've got all these different properties. And so typically if it's a property that we want enabled for long term or something like that, we'll enable them, and we have an experimental server that we like to just put properties in there. So it's totally possible to go there and just add property. But if it's if it's a property that should be on one of a specific instance, then we add them to the specific instance, right? And this is where, like I said, this way people can come and see what properties are there, but they can also just get them changed by just saying edit this file and change it.
Okay. The other thing I got to remember is where I go to the conversion script. Because we're not backporting it, I assume I just go to the 22 conversion in Sakai reference.
So in this case, because you had me merge that to 21, remember I didn't do it to 20. I think I just did it to 21. And I put it in so we go to docs conversion and we go to the 21.
No, but I'm not doing this in 21. This is going to be 22.
Okay, yeah,
but that change that old change that we did, that can that's okay. Are we streaming
Okay.
that live?
Oh.
Is that live?
We screwed up. No.
Uh-huh.
Hang on a minute.
Oh, you deleted the stream?
I think I deleted it.
Oh.
Hang on, chat. Technical difficulty. Hello, everybody. We're on the stream right now.
Here's my producer, Brent.
Sorry,
He was
guys.
playing with putting a camera up in addition to everything.
Yeah, I was being bad.
He was bored, and he was making it better. But we'll be fixed in a second. Yeah, just display capture. So, okay, Earl.
My
So this
bad.
is the file you just want to add it.
Bye, everybody.
A lot of pull requests here. Just add it to the 22 script.
And then how do I tell the Oracle people to do their Oracle thing? I got to write a README because you tell me this
So
every time.
I usually do this. I mean, and so you can call me bad or whatever, but what I do is I come up, because 95% of all of Sakai users use or installations use
Fine.
MySQL.
Okay.
So we put the MySQL script in. I take the MySQL script, and I might go to one of these Oracle validator ones. I plug it in there, and it'll tell me, oh, this is like the sort of Oracle version to use, right? And then I'll take that, which usually is sometimes not great. You know, it could be.
I got it right now.
And then you put it into the Oracle script, and then what I do is I ask the folks that are using Oracle to just validate it.
I can go
for
back
me.
and forth.
Just say, hey, can you take a look at this? And because those people look at Oracle all day long, they know it way better than I do. So I trust in them.
So sorry, I was talking to Brent because he was doing some weird stream thing. He's coming up with streaming new ideas. But so are you saying you just go convert it using a converter and put a PR into the Oracle file and then hope that the Oracle people review it?
Request it in the review. So it
Request in the
doesn't
review.
get merged. It doesn't get merged until an Oracle person has review.
So are you talking about the Oracle script? You put a PR in
Yes.
for the Oracle script and request a
I
review.
put a PR in for both. So I update both the MySQL and the Oracle in the same PR. And then I just ask the Oracle people, can you review this? And then one of the Oracle people will add their review and say, yep, that's good. And then merge it. That's all.
So Brian.
Or one of the other guys from.
So, but wait a sec. Why did you go into a little MySQL to Oracle converter website?
Mhm.
Why did you do that?
Just to create the Oracle version. That's all.
Do you put
So
that
I
in
can
the
put
comments of the MySQL commit, or do you put it in
No, I put it in the Oracle script.
and then ask for
I'll
a
put it
review
here.
from Brian?
Well, I asked for a review from the Oracle folks. Any of them can. Just at the PR.
Also
So you
known
create
as
the
AKA
PR.
Brian.
Yeah, so when you create the PR will have both the MySQL and the Oracle change in it. And then here, let me go to an example. So maybe
Okay.
that'll help you out there.
By the way,
we got
Earl,
pull
I
requests,
promise this is the
close.
last time I'm going to ask you this because I'm going to write it down this time. It's easy, but just not easy enough that I memorize it. It's kind of like certain people's phone numbers that I don't memorize.
We got a hard cam now, so I can transition from the hard cam to that cam. So right now we're broadcasting this. If you ever want to say goodbye and all that, I can transition back here.
So as you can see, this is a PR that has both MySQL and an Oracle change in it, right? It's just this one simple line, right? But if you look on the review, Adrian's requested that Brian Jones, could you take a quick look? Because Brian uses Oracle, right? That's what they do. So they look at Oracle all day long. And Brian will either approve it, saying it's fine, or he'll submit an update to it. And then once Brian gives his approval, we move forward.
Okay, so scroll up to see
It's more like Brian.
what file are we PR in right now? What file are we modifying?
Okay, so in this case, the two files.
Oh.
In this particular case, this was a 21 change.
Okay,
So
so you make one PR that has both changes, And
Yes.
and this is yours, Adrian. And basically, you came up with the magic converter. You know, okay. And then Brian will fix it.
So I don't want to just So I want to at least do something. I don't want to just be like completely.
Hey, Brian, write
relying
this
on
for me.
other people.
Yeah.
So I will just run it through a converter unless I know it. Like if I know it, then I'll just put it in there. Which a lot of the SQL syntax is simple and similar, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't know it, like in this case, right? So
Yeah.
when it deals with type. The main difference here is the types, right?
Yep.
So in Oracle they call them numbers, and in MySQL you can just say it's a bit type, right? So but so I'll just run it through, like I said, I'll take this script right here, right, and I'll go to an Oracle like online, SQL,
Yep.
and I'll pop it in there, and I'll say validate, and it'll say no, that's not valid Oracle, that's not valid Oracle. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So I gotta, look at, and this is an easy one. This is a bit number, but
Yeah.
and then I can do the basics, is what I'm saying, But I'll always ask for an Oracle person to kind of review it and approve it.
And do you do this in the GitHub UI with the editor, or do
Yes.
you? Okay,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah,
make
just do it
a
here.
branch. Okay.
Right here, like what Adrian did. You just request a review.
No, but how do you make the PR? Do you make that in the GitHub editor, or do you make the PR?
The PR is the same as every other PR that you make.
So do you check this out and then fork it into?
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Correct. You
Because
do it
everything
the same
I've done-
way you do it with the other repo.
Okay. Fork, Sakai reference.
Exactly, and you create your branch, the same
Oh,
Jira
the same
number.
Jira. The same Jira, of course.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
Use the same Jira, and then that way it's linked to the Jira.
Yeah.
That's also another way. I will tell you that is another way, because now this Jira, like for example, I'll go to this Jira real quick. Right, I'm just gonna pop over to this Jira, and what we're gonna see is in this Jira, you're gonna see multiple commits, right? Look, when I come here to do merging, I'm gonna see right away. Well, wait, why is it? It's missing. I'm gonna have to update that. But usually, what would happen is, I don't know why it's missing. Like, so the Sakai reference commit is missing from here.
Right.
So what?
But you're
what I
saying
would do is I
normally
would
you want to see
I
the Sakai
generally
reference
see
too.
them so that I know that there's a conversion script at the time of merge, and so that I know that I have to go and merge, let's say, a conversion script into a version.
Yeah.
That's just helpful for me.
Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap up.
I know that that's not working. It was working.
But I now know what
that
to
it's
do.
not working.
And I'm gonna.
I gotta go fix that.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm gonna sign off. We switched the stream to be a picture. I wrote a bunch of notes about what Earl told me, so that I can write these notes down. And so I really appreciate like this. Let's just switch back to the other one, Brent. Transition back. Do you have any thoughts, Earl? On what do you think of this first live stream?
So this was our first go. I think it was good. I think I guess it was good. I think the viewers will tell us whether or not this is something that was good for them to hear, or whether it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to become a thing. So, and thanks, Adrian, for your participation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll.
But just so everybody knows, though, this is what it's like when we get beers together.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like just talking over beers about Java and Instant and all that crap. Is just kind of what we do. So I think we'll wrap it up now. Our next stream will be in 2 weeks on September 8th, and so we'll see you again, and we'll have, I think, a better time. We'll have some of the technical details worked out. We had to use analog air to move the sound from one computer to another, but next time we'll have this worked out a lot better. So thanks a lot, and goodbye, everybody.